Hello and welcome back to Mastering English Podcasts, the place where we break down English for you. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Sam. Good to see everyone.
I am so excited about this deep dive. I really am, because it deals with something I think we all face. I know I do.
Oh, yeah.
It's this whole idea of starting over. I'll have this big, amazing goal, like, okay, this is it. I'm going to study English for 2 hours every single day.
The classic New Year's resolution feeling.
Exactly. And then, I'm not kidding, 2 days later, I'm right back in the same old patterns. It feels like I've just hit a wall. And I start to think, well, maybe this is just who I am.
That thought right there. This is just who I am. That's the real trap.
Right.
It's often not about willpower or, having the perfect schedule. It's about the story you're telling yourself. And today, that's what we're diving into. How to break free from those limits by changing your identity, not just setting goals.
And that is perfect for anyone listening because, getting fluent in English, that's one of the biggest acts of reinvention you can possibly do.
It's a huge identity shift. And we're going to explore the science behind it. We've got 5 key phrases to unpack for you, including, and you'll want to stick around for this.
Yeah.
One piece of slang about showing off that native speakers use constantly. We'll save her for the pop quiz.
I love it. Okay, if you are ready to master your English and master your life, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button right now and give us a like. So, let's do this. Let's talk about this identity trap.
Okay, let's get into it. So, the core idea, and we saw this across all the sources, is actually pretty simple. We get stuck because our actions, they have to follow our identity.
Okay.
So if you have this belief deep down that you're a procrastinator, or maybe that you're just not good at English.
Which so many people feel.
Right, that belief becomes this powerful force that works against whatever goals you set.
So my internal dialogue is the real boss here, not my calendar. That makes so much sense. I've literally caught myself saying, oh, I work better under pressure.
The classic excuse.
It sounds good, right? It sounds productive. But really, it's just my brain's fancy way of saying, I'm going to put this off.
It's a phenomenal excuse.
Yeah.
And the research shows that your brain is in. It's incredibly good at finding proof for the stories you tell it.
Oh, wow.
So if you keep repeating, I work better under pressure, your brain actually starts to rewire itself. It looks for evidence. It strengthens that habit of delaying things because that's the identity you've given it.
Hold on. So it's not just a thought. My brain is physically changing to match the identity I'm feeding it, even if that identity is actually holding me back.
Exactly. Think of it like a path in a forest. Every time you delay studying it and cram at the last minute, you're walking down that pressure path.
And it gets more worn in, easier to walk down next time.
Precisely. To change, you have to stop using that path and start cutting a new one. The disciplined student path, or the confident speaker path. It's hard work at first.
And if I'm always thinking I struggle with English, I'm just making that struggle path deeper and deeper. I'm more likely to hesitate, avoid speaking.
You avoid the very things you need to do to get better. So reinvention it's about letting go of these outdated stories. That old idea from school that I've always struggled with languages.
You have to change the source code, not just the app.
That's a perfect way to put it. You have to stop saying, I am someone who struggles, and start thinking, believing, acting like, I'm an English speaker who is building fluency right now.
Okay, this is a perfect moment to stop and unpack our first phrase.
Let's do it.
Reinvent yourself. It sounds so dramatic. Like, do I have to change my name and move to a new country to reinvent myself?
It can feel that way, right? But no, fundamentally, to reinvent yourself just means making significant intentional changes. It could be in your life, your career, your personality, all with the goal of becoming a better version of who you are. The key is that it's about reshaping your identity from the inside out.
Okay, so it starts inside, not with a plane ticket. Can you give us some examples of how this phrase is used?
Absolutely. Let's loop through a few. In a formal business context, you might hear something like this. The company realized it had to fundamentally reinvent itself to survive in the new digital market.
Okay, so that's about survival, a big professional shift.
Exactly. Now, for a more casual personal example, after the breakup, she decided to reinvent herself by traveling and taking new classes.
Ah, so that's a change driven by a personal choice, by a life event.
You got it. And for a funny or weird one, just to show the range, my uncle tried to reinvent himself as a minimalist, but he still owns 17 different coffee mugs he just can't part with.
I feel seen. That is the perfect example of the intention being there, but the old habits, they die hard.
They really do.
Let's try a quick skit. Let's say you keep putting off studying for your English exam.
Okay, sounds familiar. I can't get started. I keep waiting until the day before.
See, you're thinking about the goal. You need to think about your identity. You need to reinvent yourself as someone who is consistent, a prepared, disciplined learner. That's who you are now.
So I'm not cramming for a test. I am being a disciplined scholar. That's a huge shift. That's how I reinvent myself through my actions.
Exactly.
And just quickly, for collocations, those words that often go with this phrase, you'll hear. Completely, constantly, professionally, personally, and through hard work.
Okay, this idea of our minds making these stories real, it's so powerful. It feels like a psychological mechanism.
It is, and it has a name, which is our second key phrase.
Let's hear it.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You hear this phrase all the time.
Yeah.
But let's break it down into plain English for everyone listening.
Yes, please. What does it actually mean?
A self-fulfilling prophecy is basically a loop. It starts with a strong belief or an expectation.
Oh, okay.
And that belief causes you to act in a certain way. And your actions end up making the original belief come true. Your brain looks for proof, and your behavior provides it.
So if I go into a job interview thinking, I'm going to mess this up, my body language will be defensive, my answers will be hesitant, and I'll probably mess it up. I made it happen.
You fulfilled your own prophecy. Exactly. Let's run through the examples. A formal one, often about big systems like the economy. The media reports created a self-fulfilling prophecy of a market crash as investors panicked and sold their stocks.
So collective fear becomes a reality. Wow.
Now, a casual one for a language learner.
Yeah.
I kept telling myself I'd forget the vocabulary, and that fear became a self-fulfilling prophecy during the presentation when my mind just went blank.
Oh, that's painfully relatable. The anxiety itself is what causes the mistake.
It eats up all your mental space. And for a funny one, he was so convinced his old toaster would explode that he jumped back in fear, knocking it off the counter and breaking it. A true self-fulfilling prophecy.
His fear broke the toaster. Okay, let's role play this. Let's say I've got a big client meeting tomorrow.
I'm so nervous. I just know they're going to think my ideas aren't good enough. I'm going to fail.
Whoa, stop right there. Do you hear yourself? You're setting yourself up. That's a destructive thought. If you believe that, you'll walk in there with zero confidence and create a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure.
You're right. I have to change the story. I have to go in there believing I'm the solution they need.
Yes. Start now.
Good. And remember the collocations here.
Yeah.
You can create or avoid a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And we often describe it as negative or positive.
I love how this just flips everything. It's not about what happens to us. It's about the story we tell ourselves. But how do we actually create that new story if the old one is so strong?
That is the real work, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sources point to two big things. First, you have to visualize the future self.
Okay, visualization. I've heard athletes do this.
They do. And it's not just wishful thinking. When you vividly imagine yourself speaking English confidently in that meeting, you're activating the same parts of your brain that you would use if you were actually doing it.
So my brain is kind of practicing. It's rehearsing the action.
It's building that new neural pathway. It's telling itself, oh, I guess this is who we are now. It makes the real action feel more familiar and less scary.
That's amazing. What's the second part?
The second part is harder. It's about giving yourself grace.
The gift of grace. I love that phrase. This is where Charlemagne God's philosophy comes in, right? The idea of not punishing yourself now for what you didn't know back then.
It is so essential for moving forward. You have to look at your past self, the one who procrastinated, the one who made mistakes, and understand that they were just in survival mode.
They were doing the best they could with the tools they had.
Exactly. You have to accept every version of yourself to grow without shame. For our listeners, that means you stop saying, I'm so bad at English because I failed that test 2 years ago.
And what do you say instead?
You give that past self some grace and you say, I am an improving English speaker who is figuring this out today. You change the words, you change the story, you change the action.
That is the identity shift. And it really has no age limit. I mean, we have to talk about Colonel Sanders.
The perfect example.
Yeah.
Started KFC in his 60s after a lifetime of different jobs and failures. He did not let failed businessman become his final identity. He chose a new one.
It's never too late to change your story.
Okay, so we've laid the psychological groundwork, the identity shift. Now let's get practical. How do we take action in the real world without getting overwhelmed?
This is where I always get stuck. I get excited about the big idea, but then the sheer amount of work just seems impossible. I go for the massive overhaul.
And that's the trap. That expectation of a huge immediate change is why most attempts fail. The sources all agree. Big change comes from tiny, consistent steps.
So not 4 hours of studying a day.
No. Commit to 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of focused work.
5 minutes, that's it. That almost feels too easy.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's so small that your old identity, the procrastinator, doesn't even have a reason to fight back.
Yeah.
And what usually happens after 5 minutes?
Well, I usually end up doing 10 or 15. Once you start, it's easier to keep going. That's momentum.
That's momentum. The power is in the consistency, not the intensity. Think of water dripping on a rock. One big splash does nothing. But a tiny drop every single day eventually wears a hole in the stone.
That's a great image. Consistency builds momentum and rewires the brain.
Spot on. And to protect that consistency, Charlemagne Tygod talks about this concept he calls IG.
When I first heard that, I immediately thought of Instagram.
A common mistake. No, his IG stands for intention and goals.
Okay. Intention and goals. What does that mean in practice?
It's a way to eliminate wasted time and small talk. Before you do anything, a meeting, a study session, a conversation, you define your intention. Why are you doing this? And your goal. What do you want to achieve?
He calls it focusing on the entree, not the appetizer. Give me an example for an English learner.
Okay. Let's say you're going to talk with a native speaker. Your intention isn't just to talk. Your intention could be to practice using phrasal verbs. And your goal could be to use 3 new phrasal verbs correctly.
Oh, I see. So it's not just a vague chat. It's a focused mission. You know exactly what you're trying to do.
It makes your practice so much more efficient. You're not just hoping to get better. You're actively working on a specific skill.
And this whole mindset, this focus, it connects to letting go, doesn't it? Trusting the process.
It's the ultimate act of letting go. You focus on the intention and the consistency, the daily drop of water.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that you can't control exactly when the hole in the rock will appear.
And that brings us to our third phrase.
It does.
Relinquish control. This phrase sounds so formal, almost royal, like a king giving up his throne. What does it mean in our everyday lives?
You're right, it is a more formal phrase. To relinquish control means to voluntarily give up your power or authority over something, to surrender the reins. In a personal sense, it's about trust. Trusting your employees, trusting your children as they grow up, or trusting your own language journey to unfold at its own pace.
So trying to micromanage my English progress is actually counterproductive. I'll just burn out.
You will. You have to relinquish control over the final outcome and just focus on the daily action. Let's do the examples. Formally, you might hear. The government decided to relinquish control of the state-owned company to private investors.
Okay, classic political or business context.
For a casual example about mental health. To reduce your stress, you need to relinquish control over what other people think of you.
That's huge. That's probably the hardest thing to do, but the most freeing.
It is. And for a funny one,
No.
I had to relinquish control of my phone because the cat decided it was now his personal bed.
The real boss of the house has been revealed. Okay, let's role play this. I am manager on a new project.
Okay, so I'm checking everyone's work. I'm rewriting their emails. I need every single detail to be perfect.
Hold on. You're micromanaging. You hired good people, right? You need to relinquish control and trust your team to do their jobs. Focus on the final result, not every tiny step.
But what if they do it differently than I would?
That's okay. Let them. That's how they learn and how you grow as a leader. You have to practice relinquishing control.
You're right. I need to let go.
Perfect. And for collocations, you'll hear this with words like fully, partially, entirely. And it's often control over power, authority, or responsibility.
Okay, so we've covered consistency and letting go. What about our environment?
Yes, this is so important. My surroundings can either help me or keep me stuck. For me, my phone sitting on my desk is the #1 enemy.
That's the external environment. And the advice is to be really active about it. Don't just try to ignore the phone. Physically put it in another room.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. For learners, this means immersion. Change your phone's language to English. Put sticky notes with new vocabulary on your mirror. Make your environment support your new identity.
Okay, I can control the external environment, but what about the internal noise? The negative self-talk, that's the loudest noise of all.
That's where the real work is. The solution is to actively shift your thought patterns. So when your brain says, I'm failing at this conversation, you consciously replace it with, I'm figuring this out.
I'm feeling versus I'm figuring it out. That's such a small change in words, but a massive change in feeling.
It's the difference between a dead end and a process. And you have to be kind to yourself. Speak to yourself like you would to a good friend who is trying their best. You wouldn't tell them they're a failure.
That's so true. We are so much harsher with ourselves.
And finally, we have to talk about the other external noise. The comparison trap. Social media.
Oh, this one is brutal. You're scrolling and you see someone's perfect life, the amazing new job, the flawless vacation.
And what that does, the source explains, is it makes your own real life feel blurry.
Blurry. That's a great word for it.
Your own messy, slow progress feels less clear, less valuable when you compare it to someone else's perfect, curated highlight reel.
You forget about all the hard work and the mess that happened just 5 minutes before they took that perfect photo.
Exactly. Your journey has its own timeline. You're not in a race against them. You're in a race against your past self. You just have to keep moving forward at your own pace.
This is all really powerful psychological stuff, but now we have to talk about how this applies to, well, one of the biggest challenges of all, career change, especially later in life.
Yes. The sources were filled with stories about this. People in their 30s, 40s, even 70s, completely reinventing their professional lives. The struggle is real, but it's universal.
And it's not always easy. The sources highlight some really intense challenges, right?
Absolutely. There's this overwhelming feeling of starting over. It's daunting. We heard from people who left these respected high-paying jobs, making six-figure salaries, and went back to making minimum wage for a year while they retrained. The financial hit is massive.
I can't even imagine. And it's not just financial, it's isolating too.
Deeply isolating. There was the story of the financial crimes investigator who switched to a tech role. He talked about feeling completely on autopilot at first, and then this. He called it a gaping hole in his life from the loss of human connection working from home.
That gaping hole, you don't think about losing that social part of your old job identity, but for so many people, the biggest struggle of all seems to be this one emotional hurdle.
Yes. Imposter syndrome.
Let's stop right there. This is our fourth phrase, and it is so important. Imposter syndrome. I hear this term everywhere, especially in professional settings. What does it actually mean?
Imposter syndrome is this internal feeling that you're a fraud. It's the belief that you aren't really as competent or as smart as people think you are, and you're terrified you'll be, well, found out.
Even when you have clear evidence of your success, like awards or promotions.
Especially then. It's this deep disconnect between your external achievements and your internal feeling of worth. The more successful you get, the worse it can feel.
Okay, let's look at some examples.
For a formal context, you might hear this about a high achiever. Even after winning the Nobel Prize, the scientist struggled with severe imposter syndrome, feeling her discovery was just a lucky break.
Wow, it can affect anyone.
For a casual context, something our listeners might feel. I suffer from imposter syndrome every time I have to speak English in a meeting, even though I know my vocabulary is strong.
That's it exactly. You feel like you're faking the fluency.
And for a funny one, my tiny chihuahua has imposter syndrome and constantly tries to act like a German shepherd whenever the mail arrives.
The small dog complex. Okay, let's role play this. Let's say you just got a big promotion.
Yeah, but I keep telling my friends they must have made a mistake, that I'm not really ready for it.
Stop. Listen to what you're saying. You earned that promotion. They chose you for a reason. What you're feeling right now is classic imposter syndrome. You have to let yourself own your success.
That's tough to hear, but you're right. I have to acknowledge the feeling, but not let it define me.
Exactly.
For collocations, you'll hear people say they struggle with, suffer from, or overcome imposter syndrome.
It's just so clear that this is a huge part of reinvention. You're stepping into a new world where you're a beginner again.
You are. And we saw so many examples. The lawyer who became a nurse to find more fulfillment, the chef who became an elevator mechanic for better pay and less stress.
They weren't just changing jobs. They were leaving behind a feeling of being on autopilot and searching for a more conscious direction.
And that search for direction brings us to this incredible lesson from the former NBA star, Chris Bosh.
His story is so powerful, an elite athlete whose career just stopped. It was taken away from him by a health issue, forcing this massive, unwanted reinvention.
He went from this super clear identity basketball star to this terrifying void. And his advice for anyone in that void, anyone feeling stuck, is this: nobody's coming through that door.
That is so blunt, but so true. Don't wait for a savior. Don't wait for the perfect moment or for motivation to strike you like lightning.
You have to motivate yourself.
Yeah.
You have to accept the daily grind. And he says you have to ban pity parties. Complaining just wastes energy. Focus on the problem and the solution. Start now.
And I love his approach to getting better. He didn't just watch his highlight reels.
No, he did the opposite. He watched hours of footage, looking for his mistakes and his inconsistencies.
That's what real improvement looks like. For English learners, it means recording yourself speaking and listening back for the errors, not to feel bad, but to find what you need to work on.
Exactly. It's about facing the weaknesses head on.
Now, speaking of motivation, I know Charlemagne Tygod talks about how his early success was driven by this need to prove himself to his father.
Yes, he connects his drive back to these childhood feelings of inferiority, this need to show everyone he had made it. Which brings us to our final phrase, and it's a great piece of modern slang.
Let's hear it. Stunting on someone. This is definitely contemporary. What does it mean to stunt on someone?
So stunting on someone is a very informal slang term. It means to show off or to be boastful, to flaunt your success.
Oh, okay.
But specifically to impress or prove a point to other people, usually people who doubted you. It's a competitive kind of showing off.
So it's not just being proud, it's showing off at someone.
Exactly. It's an active display. So in a formal context, you'd be describing the action like this. The tech billionaire used his success to stunt on his rivals by buying a much larger yacht. Even in that sentence, the phrase itself is still informal.
It has that competitive flavor.
Right. For a casual example, here's some advice. Don't try to stunt on your friends with your new vocabulary. Just use it naturally in conversation.
Great advice. Don't be a show-off.
And for a funny one, the baby was stunting on all the adults in the room by taking his first 3 wobbly steps.
The ultimate flex. Okay, let's do a quick role play. I just got a new job and a new car.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't wait to drive by my old boss's house, the one who said I'd never amount to anything.
Be careful. It sounds like your main motivation is to stunt on him. Enjoy your success for you, not to prove a point to someone from your past.
You're right. That's the old me talking. I need to let go of that need for validation.
Perfect. For call occasions, you'll hear people stunting hard or constantly, and they'll stunt with your success or on your old friends.
This has all been about self-correction, so I have a question about that. It's something I hear learners ask a lot. We've learned that negative self-talk is bad. We should say things like, I'm improving. But sometimes you just feel bad. You want to be honest about the struggle. So you might say, I am working on my issues and problems. Is that the best way to say it?
That's a great question. And grammatically, it's perfectly fine. But it doesn't quite capture the deeper meaning that a native speaker would use when they're talking about real, transformative personal growth.
Okay, so what's the nuance there? Why not problems or issues?
Well, problems and issues can sound a bit superficial, like a leaky faucet you need to fix. When the work is internal, when it's about identity, about healing past trauma, we tend to use more elevated language.
So what's the phrase a native speaker would use to show that deeper level of work?
They would say, I am doing the work on myself. Or sometimes, I am doing the internal work. It signals a much deeper commitment. It's not about fixing a simple problem. It's about a challenging, ongoing process of self-reflection and healing. It's exactly the kind of process we've been talking about this whole time.
I am doing the internal work. That is so much more powerful. It's active. It's a choice. I love that.
Okay, are you ready? It is time for the pop quiz we promised at the start.
I am ready. Let's do this. Listeners, you can play along.
Okay, Alex. 3 scenarios. You just need to tell me if it's an example of reinvent yourself, self-fulfilling prophecy, or imposter syndrome.
Bring it on.
Number 1. A manager was so convinced her team would miss the deadline that she kept interrupting them with anxious questions, which broke their concentration, and they missed the deadline. This is a classic.
Oh, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Her fear directly caused the outcome she was afraid of.
Correct. Number 2. After 30 years as an accountant, he quit his job, went to culinary school, and opened a small bakery in his hometown. He decided to completely
reinvent himself. A total shift in professional identity.
Perfect. And last one. A brilliant programmer who just led a major successful project tells her friend, I honestly feel like I just got lucky. I'm worried they'll find out I don't really know what I'm doing. She is feeling.
That is 100% imposter syndrome. The feeling of being a fraud despite all the evidence.
3 for 3. Excellent job.
This deep dive really showed me that reinvention isn't some big, scary event. It's a daily choice, a daily practice of changing your story and giving yourself grace.
Absolutely. So let's quickly summarize the 3 biggest takeaways from today.
Okay.
Number 1, reinvent yourself. This is about shifting your core identity, not just your habits.
Number 2, The power of grace. Stop blaming your present self for what your past self didn't know.
And number 3, consistency over intensity. Those small daily actions are what build real lasting change.
And for all of you listening, here's your micro challenge for today. Try to use the phrase, I am doing the internal work. Say it to yourself, write it down, put it in the comments below.
And if this deep dive helps you break free from some old habits and grow your English, don't forget to like and subscribe to Mastering English Podcast.
I'm Alex. See you next time.
And I'm Sam. Bye.